Welcome.
Come along with me.
Oh, gnarly!
Oh my God, I shot my eye out.
Please go to 11.
Reading Starfighter.
Hasta la vista, baby.
14.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to 40 Going on 14. I am Mike.
I am Patrick.
I'm Joel.
And I'm Josh, and we are continuing with Oscars month talking about West Side Story, the controversial West Side Story. And at first I was like, why is that controversial? Then I looked at the names of almost all the actors playing Puerto Rican characters and was like, oh, right.
That'll do it every time.
Yeah, at least in the original. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
We will.
It was fine. They had brown makeup.
Andy Rooney was around.
Charlton Heston did it. Why not?
They had
Just coat them all in
Charo,
brown makeup. It's fine.
and they had... I'm just wondering if it was just a quantity thing. You know, how many choices did they have besides, like, Ricky Ricardo? And he's Cuban, isn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I almost think that was the reason they had to bring Rita Moreno back for the remake, is because she was literally the only Puerto Rican person any of the white people knew.
Right. And she was complaining about the fact that they always covered them all in the same shade of brown makeup. She's like, I'm already Puerto Rican. Why do you have to color me?
Right? Yep, I saw that interview.
Yep.
Good for her.
All right. So if you'd like to get in touch with us, you can give us a ring at 708-NOW-RAP. That's 708-669-9727. You can also join our conversation on Discord by clicking or copying the link in the show notes. We'd love to have you on there. Always lots of conversation, lots of chitter-chatter, all the memes you'd like, views of Patrick's nachos, which are ridiculous.
They look
were quite
delicious.
fabulous.
Did you eat all those?
Oh, hell no.
I mean, okay, let me rephrase that. Are you eventually going to eat all those?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So
Tomorrow.
you didn't eat all of them right now.
No,
It's not
half
like
of
you
them got finished between the three of us.
okay, between the three.
My mom
Okay.
at one point, she's like, I'm getting sick, but I can't stop eating.
Don't you hate that feeling? Like 2 weeks ago when we had corned beef and cabbage from this place here was so good, but I just could not stop eating, and I regretted that decision later.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you just got to power through it because it's so fucking good. I get it.
Just one more bite. Just one more little bite.
And then at some point, you're like, man, there's not enough left to save it. Might as well just eat it.
Yeah, I don't think we have a Tupperware that small. Why should we even bother?
Yep, been there, and I hate wasting food.
Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, so if you'd like to get in touch with us also, we have the voicemail. You can also get in touch with us there's a link also in the show notes. It'll take you to our Google form where you can either type something out to us or send us a voice message if you like that way also. But in the meantime, since we don't have any messages, we have the question of the week, which is...
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, we didn't have a name on this one, so we couldn't ask for clarification. But what is the first thing you do when you get home and the last thing you do before bed? And I think what they meant was it's the first thing you do in the morning.
Like when you wake up.
And the last thing you do before bed.
You know what? Let's answer all three. Like, if you have a routine when you get home from work, let's throw that in there too. Just in case they were really concerned about that.
I used to have a
all three is
routine.
the same. And I'm pretty sure everybody can guess what that answer is.
Eat nachos.
Cry.
Yeah, right? No, I mean, that goes in conjunction with it. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Obviously,
regret life
smoking.
choices.
I mean, the first thing I'm not like trying to be all like, oh, I'm ultra cool, because I'm really not. I'm a 50-year-old who still smokes weed, so I know I'm not that cool.
Nothing wrong with that.
You're just
But
like
that's what I
Kevin
do.
Smith.
It's like the first thing I do is wake up and the first thing I do before I go to bed. I mean, it's a constant thing. It's not. It's like, since I'm not on any pharmaceuticals, it's a way of monitoring my own mental health.
Is that the same though when you get home from work?
Right.
Well, I mean, I do it at work. I do it, when I'm home, when I'm not working. Yeah, so it's like, it's literally the first thing I do. I wake up and I just kind of stand up and walk over to the area and pick up a bowl and light it up and then go in, brush my teeth, wake up, That's me. What about you guys?
I don't know, Joel. What about you, man?
Well, first thing I do when I get up in the morning is take a piss.
Then
Always
I go
get
in
up.
the bathroom.
Yep. No, I get up,
And then he cleans off Laura. And then
take a piss, brush my teeth, and then when I get home from work, since I work from home now, I typically will start by getting dinner ready, getting food ready for the various animals in the house, and then before bed, same thing, kind of. I'll get food ready. No, I'll take a piss, brush my teeth, and climb into bed. Got to get those P's and T's in. Teeth.
But like before you do any like bathroom duties, like what is there like a regular thing you do every night before you like retire for the evening?
You mean before I?
Yeah, I'm
piss
just
and
asking. Like,
brush my teeth?
is there like a routine thing that you do like before you go into your bedroom for like is there walk around the house, turn off all the lights, anything like that? Like
I'm heavily regimented, Patrick. Do you really want me to get into that much depth?
I know you're very. That's why I'm asking
Yeah.
you. What is your routine?
Because you're
before you go?
leaving stuff out.
Well,
We know you.
I mean, as soon as it's like, okay, time to head to bed, I make sure the dishwasher is filled and started. I put everything away, let the dogs out, make sure they use a restroom. I'll refill the rabbits' food dish because these always
Refill
need
the
food.
rabbits.
Refill the rabbits.
I will put all the blankets. The dogs, sleep on blankets on the couch. I always fold those up and put them back on the couch the way that they are normally in the morning. So when they get up the next morning, they're ready for them to lay back on, and they're not just strewn everywhere. If there's dog toys over the floor, I'll pick those up and put those away. And then give the dogs their
stop playing with the dog toys.
give the dogs their treats when they come back in. Head down to the bedroom, clear off the bed because we have a lot of excess pillows on the bed. Piss, brush my teeth, get into bed, and I'll usually read a little bit while I'm waiting for Laura to finish getting ready, and then go to bed.
See, my routine is only a little less regimented than Joel's because I do the same thing pretty much every morning. First thing I do is I take both of the dogs out. They very quickly pee and know immediately to run back in for a treat. Then I'll go to the bathroom myself.
Then you get a treat.
Then the dogs give you a treat.
Well, that because usually I've left my vape on the counter after bringing the dogs in, so I'll go back out and fill up their food bowls, grab my vape, and if I didn't get enough sleep, I'll grab a diet soda, just one extra caffeine because I'm not going to fill my coffee until after breakfast. Then I'll go play Hearthstone until it's time to get in the shower. When I would come home from work, in general, the first thing I would do, the dogs would greet me, assuming that they're not in the crates. And then I would wash out my travel coffee mug, wash out my thermos, set them in the drying rack, and get a small snack. And then bedtime, it's kind of similar to Joel's, only not quite so many steps because I'm not quite so interested in cleaning things up, but it'll be like check the locks on all the doors, make sure the lights on the outside are out, brush my teeth, go to the bathroom again. Dogs will climb into bed with me because I usually get up before Sarah and go to bed before Sarah. And usually whether she's coming to bed within the next few minutes or not, I'll mess with my phone for like 20, 30 minutes, usually just like scrolling Facebook or TikTok. And then I'll set it down and go to sleep.
I do also check the doors, turn off the lights, and set the alarm, but I forgot that part.
I never do that because I'm always sleeping at different hours of everybody else. So I assume they're taking care of all that crap.
You hope so, anyway.
Whatever. I mean,
And my morning routine is just the opposite: doing, unloading the dishwasher, feeding the animals, etc.
unfolding the blankets.
No, the dogs do that for me.
Emptying the rabbit.
Yep, gotta empty the rabbit. Mike.
Well, now that it's warming up, I'm getting back into my spring summer routine, which was get up, start the coffee, take a leak, and then I go for a walk first thing in the morning. So it's still kind of chilly out. I'll go for a walk, come home, make myself something to eat, either like make an bowl of oatmeal, or make something as ridiculous as like a hash brown skillet or something like that, depending on how hungry I am. Then I answer emails, gotta get on work. I'll usually do that while having a cup of coffee and then get up out of my day. Coming home, when I used to come home for work instead of just walk upstairs for work, usually I would come home and then just like lay down for 10 minutes. Because I used to try, I would commute in from Chicago.
Yep.
And getting, when you leave work, you try to get to the train to get to 5:20, but it takes 15 minutes to get to walk down to the train station. So you got to leave at 5. When you start to leave at 5, then the boss gives you shit because you're leaving on time instead of not sticking around, then all that. And you get on the train, blah, blah, blah. And then I get home and I'm like, all I need is just 10 minutes of being left alone. And just close my eyes for 10 minutes. Then we, have dinner and do something. But evening, it's kind of like Pat's grab bag. I mean, we were just talking earlier. I tried to make a habit of going to bed earlier, and all that did was make me wake up at 4 a.m. because screw you, Mike, and trying to have a healthy sleep cycle. None of this going to bed at 10 o'clock for you. You're going to go to bed, whenever you pass out. But I do the walk around, check the doors, take a leak, go to bed, close my eyes, wonder whether or not I actually check the doors or not, get up and do it again because I'm a complete psychopath. Sometimes it's like that. It's like that Rugrats cartoon. What are you doing up in the middle of the night making pudding? I've lost control of my life. That's, I'm just walking. And the other thing is, like, sometimes I'll, on the, what used to be a routine when I was a little bit, had a lot on my mind, I would just about every night hear something, like hear someone call me right before I fell asleep, in that weird, you're just about to sleep type of thing.
Oh no.
Sleep paralysis type stuff. Yeah.
Not even sleep paralysis. It was like, I'm not totally awake. I'm not totally falling asleep. I'm just on that little bit of a bridge. And then I would hear like Katie call me, or I'd hear Suzanne call me, or I hate somebody, and then I'm up, I'm up in there, up in Katie's room. Did you call me? She's like, no, go to bed. It's in you're dreaming again, Dad. Go to bed. Trust me. If I call you, she's like, at one point she's like, if I call you in the middle of the night, you're going to know.
Right.
It's going to be a thing. So
she's not.
I think I talked about this on the health episode show, but sometimes that happens to me in that twilight moment just before you fall asleep, except it's not a person's voice. It's a fucking explosion.
Yes.
Yes. You talked about that.
I know that.
It's got a name. It's called exploding head syndrome, which is like the best condition name ever.
But kind of sucks if you want to go to sleep.
Well, yes, because it's like a cannon has gone off inside your skull.
Yeah, in the moment you're like, did I just have a fucking aneurysm? What just happened?
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, I hate that.
And
head exploding
don't know
syndrome?
what the hell that is.
You've never experienced it?
No, I mean it's not something that everybody has. It's like randomized who has it and stuff. But yeah,
it's super rare.
But the doctor. I mean, I read a thread on this years ago before I even knew you had it. The doctors just don't know what it is, but it's something like 1 out of every 1,000 people or something like that.
Because I have it too. I didn't know it was a rare thing. I thought everybody was just like one of those weird, like right before you fall asleep kind of moments where your body, for whatever reason, shocks you awake again.
Now there is a thing where you get a feeling like you're falling when you're there. I forget what the name of it is. Probably some sleep falling syndrome or something like that. But like when you're on that bridge between sleeping and falling, halitosis.
Oh yes, halitosis.
And you'll get that momentary feeling where you feel like you just fell out of the bed.
Yep, I've had that too. And you flail, like you have a moment where you just kind of like you flail.
And then your wife looks at you like you're a complete friggin' idiot because you're suddenly flailing in the bed. And when she goes, "What's wrong?" you say, "I was falling out of an airplane."
Well, or were you aside here? One time I was asleep, and the woman
I was actually falling out of an airplane.
The woman that was in the bed with me had her back to me.
Funny joke.
And I must have been dreaming about a fight or something, and I just in the middle of the night just punched her right in the back.
Oh, yikes.
Oh, ask Laura.
Yeah.
I've done that a couple times to her too. And she's like, what the hell?
Good
I don't
God.
know. I was dreaming.
Well,
I
this
can't help
was
it.
unfortunately a very tiny woman, and she, barely, she was like, like fell out of the bed, and I just went right back to sleep.
Of course.
Good.
That was
God.
fun.
Yeah. So in the meantime, it's about that time.
Oh, it's about that time.
Past
Right
that
on.
time.
This week in music, movies, and TV.
Hands.
All right, so-
Explosion's back.
It's Exploding Joel. So we are looking at October 18th, 1961 for the release of the first West Side Story.
They just met a girl named Maria. All right. So the number one song in the land was Hit the Road, Jack by the great Ray Charles.
Great song.
Yes.
'Tis a great song
If
indeed.
you don't know that song, go to your local streaming service and listen to it right now.
They're going to say go to your local bridge and jump off.
Jeez, man. That's rough to say that, man.
If you don't know this song, then fuck you.
Did you just say, and fuck you?
And then you should be dead.
I don't know why that struck me as funny, but all right. Speaking of fuck you, Wynton Marsalis, 9-time Grammy Award-winning jazz classical trumpeter and composer, was born in New Orleans on October 18th. His Blood on the Fields was the first jazz composition to win the Pulitzer Prize for Music, and he is the only musician to win a Grammy Award in both jazz and classical during the same year. He is currently artistic director of jazz at Lincoln Center in New York City. And no, I don't hate Wynton Marsalis. I was making a joke. He's a talented fella.
Strange joke.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not a huge fan of jazz. I mean, it begins and ends with Miles Davis for me.
Just play
I mean-
the right notes.
If you're going to have a small window of artists you enjoy, I mean, that's the right one.
You could do a lot worse than Wynton Marsalis if you're looking for a representative of jazz. That's for sure.
Indeed.
Now, who's the jazz guy who he graduated? He went all the way through music college and never learned how to read music. And they told him, "We'll give you your diploma, but only if you promise never to teach music."
I don't know.
Oh man,
My instinct wants to say Thelonious Junk. Or Thelonious
No.
Monk.
Thelonious Junk.
Thelonious Junk is Josh's name in Discord.
I was going to say, you've gotten that
Thelonious
name.
Monk.
Yeah.
I'm not 100% sure that he could read music.
Bill Evans, Charlie Parker,
jazz musician who can't read music. Hey, look at that autofilled.
Freddie Hubbard,
Uh,
Stan Getz,
no, John, it'll come to me. Keep going. Wow, there's
J.J.
a list
Johnson.
There's a list of jazz artists who couldn't read music.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if you find it,
Okay, the top
You
of the
don't
list they say.
necessarily have to follow sheet music to play jazz.
right?
Yeah, the first two are, well, honestly, Ray Charles and Stevie Wonder, but that's because they were
well.
blind.
Oh,
Keep rolling.
wow. And finally, on October 17th, in a chance meeting, former school friends Mick Jagger and Keith Richards meet each other again at the Dartfield station in Kent on their way to their respective colleges and discover their mutual taste for rock and roll. They exchanged numbers and agreed to form a band together. And if anybody hasn't figured this out and was, somebody that Patrick said, fuck you to, that they later became the Rolling Stones.
Neat.
And if you don't know the Rolling Stones, fuck you.
And jump
And
off a bridge.
I found out who I was thinking of.
Oh.
Dave Brubeck.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have come up with that.
Nope. All right, moving on to movies. The number one movie in the land was West Side Story. That was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Kind of saw that coming, really.
Yep.
Also released this week, however, were Backstreet, starring Susan Hayward and John Gavin, The Devil at 4 O'Clock, starring Spencer Tracy and Frank Sinatra, and Mr. Sardonicus, a horror film produced by William Castle.
Have you seen Mr. Sardonicus, Joel?
I don't believe so. No, I'm just looking it up now
Look at the
because
description and read it to the audience and tell me that does not sound like something you would enjoy.
A mysterious and cruel baron whose face has become frozen in a horrifying grin demands that a prominent London physician apply experimental treatments on him to restore his face. Yeah, William Castle was like the P.T. Barnum of the film world. Like he's the guy that created the electronic or the electro shock under people's seats when they went to go see the Tingler, or had like.
Is he responsible for that too?
That's a good question. I'm not sure. I know he had like skeletons that would fly in from the ceiling, and
yeah, what you're talking about where they had the shocker pads in the seats.
Yep.
Apparently this one had that too, because the poster says there's a special punishment poll. Mercy or no mercy for Mr. Sardonicus. In the spirit of foul play, you will decide during the punishment poll by voting thumbs up or thumbs down with your ballot card. And he gave everybody a glow-in-the-dark piece of paper that had a thumbs up on it. And you held it up, either thumbs up or thumbs down, whichever way you put it up, to vote on which last reel you would see.
He also was responsible for 13 Ghosts and a bunch of other stuff. Yeah, he was a big showman. And he was in a lot of his movies too. But yeah, this reminds me a little bit of the Man Who Laughed, but much later. Yeah, I'm to check this one out.
It
Mr. Sardonicus.
reminds me. Didn't they make a movie about this guy?
William Castle or Mr. Sardonicus?
William Castle.
Because the Mr. Sardonicus movie would be about him.
Right.
Who played Walter in?
John Goodman.
Yes, it was John Goodman.
Matinee?
Yeah.
Was that about William Castle?
I think it was.
Oh, yeah, you know what? That probably was. Yeah, if he's the guy, because that was all about a guy who invented, like, you know, all kinds of theater tricks and stuff. I never saw it, but I know what it was about. It might have been based on him. May not have directly.
I saw it, but it's been a long time.
How do you spell matinee?
Matine.
Oh, here we go.
EE.
No, he played somebody named Lawrence Woolsey.
I think maybe it was loosely based on.
Yeah, kind of like
Perhaps.
This is this guy that kind of did the same thing. No, okay. I thought it was a biopic. Anyway.
Oh, I think it's probably, like I said, I'm sure it's based on him. Yeah, here it says a character of Lawrence Woolsey is based directly upon the real Hollywood showman William Castle.
Okay, cool.
So, good catch.
I remember seeing that. It was pretty good. So, also, TV, top shows in the land were Wagon Train, Bonanza, Gunsmoke, and, for a twist, Hazel. What was Hazel? Was that another I'm Married to a Witch type thing?
It was that show about that woman named Hazel.
Okay.
No, it was not Witch Hazel.
I don't know what it was, to be honest with you. But it doesn't.
Oh, yeah, you know what it was. It was
the animated show?
No, it wasn't animated. It had Shirley Booth as the maid.
Oh.
It's just Hazel.
Oh, is that the one that's the spinoff of Bewitched?
It might have been.
Yeah, because they had a neighbor named Hazel that got a spinoff.
Yeah, that might have been, but that one, Hazel, was the one. It's got you'd reckon. I think you'd recognize it if you saw it. But
I just looked it up, and that's exactly the picture that popped up.
Yeah, I'll put that in the show notes too, so that way you guys can check it out. Because looking at stuff always works out on podcasts.
Right.
Les Stroud, born October 20th, is a survival expert, filmmaker, and musician, best known for his television series Survivor Man. After a short career behind the scenes in the music industry, Stroud became a full-time wilderness guide and survival instructor. Stroud has produced several survival-themed programming for the Outdoor Life Network, the Discovery Channel, the Science Channel, and YTV. The survival skills imparted from watching Stroud's television programs have been cited by several people as the reason they lived through harrowing wilderness ordeals.
Yeah, Survivor Man, like watching a couple episodes just will show you how much bullshit Bear Grylls show is.
I've seen this one pop up a couple times, but I haven't watched it. I probably need to now.
Oh, it's so good.
I'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I've never seen it either.
And Jillian was on Hazel. I like Ann Jillian. Sorry.
On October 15th, at the LPGA Women's Championship, held at the Stardust Country Club in Las Vegas, Mickey Wright convincingly won her third LPGA title by 9 strokes over Louise Suggs. Gladstone Cleophas Small, born October 18th, is an English former cricketer who played in 17 test matches and 53 one-day internationals for the England cricket team. Small was born in Barbados and moved to England shortly after his 14th birthday. Small has Klippel-Feil syndrome, which accounts for his distinctive no-neck appearance. Appearance?
Appearance?
Appearance.
Ah, appearance.
Colin Gateman commented, Gladstone Small overcame a hunched physique to become a remarkably effective fast-medium bowler and one of the most popular characters on the county circuit. Primarily, he bowled outswing, but his propensity for unreliable bowling gave selectors cause for concern. Small was in the England squad for both the 1987 and 92 Cricket World Cups. Later, he became a director of the Acronym of the Week, PCA.
Well, I mean, I only know that acronym as the Patrick's Curmudgeon Association. So
I had a feeling, I didn't think about it when I picked that acronym, but as soon as it started, I was like, I got a feeling my name's about to come up. No, that is the Professional Cricketers Association.
Was this guy Big Ed's dad or what?
This guy's got no neck.
I mean, I tried to give you an easy acronym. It was pretty obvious, but still didn't get it. And lastly, born October 22nd, Sanath Mohan Silva Kalupurarama is a former Sri Lankan cricketer who played in 4 tests and 2 ODIs from 1984 to 1988. A top-order batsman who could open and a handy off-spin bowler, he was also a skilled slip gully fielder.
Wait, what?
You know, a slip gully fielder.
New word.
New phrase.
Kalupurarama migrated to Melbourne, Australia in 1989, where he played district cricket and later captain-coached Mount Waverley CC, Bayside Club Cheltenham, and Keysborough CC.
It's a lot of CCs.
In cricket, a slip fielder is placed behind the batsman on the offside of the field. They're placed with the aim of catching an edged ball, which is beyond the wicket-keeper's reach. So a backup for the
catch
catcher.
a foul tip ball. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I mean, have you guys ever seen like what a cricket field looks like? Like you look at the baseball diamond with all positions. Have you ever seen what a cricket one looks like?
No.
Yeah, they're all over the field. Yeah.
Oh, that shit's crazy.
Yeah, like all the batting and everything is like right in the middle of the whole pitch. It's not like they're like at one side aiming for the rest. Like you can hit the ball anywhere.
Yeah, it's not like we have a diamond where everything goes in one direction. You can literally hit the ball straight over the top of your head if you're good enough, and go backwards, and it's a legal hit.
That's confusing to me.
There's a lot going on, man. I mean, for God's sake, the games take multiple days.
Several years to play, yeah.
Is still playing in his test. All right. Is that it?
That's it. Play us off, keyboard Joel.
I
think I found the thing for the day.
Explosions?
Joel keeps exploding.
Fuck you!
So West Side Story, 1961.
What? We're starting, so I was just giving you some background.
No, it's all right.
is it though?
Yeah, no, it isn't really. One would think you would learn how to whistle before you would pull that joke.
I mean,
you're getting better. But West Side Story, 1961, American musical romantic drama, directed by Robert Wise and Jerome Robbins. Screenplay written by Ernest Lemon. We're going to get more to that later. It's an adaptation of the 1957 Broadway musical, the same title, which was inspired by Romeo and Juliet. It was filmed in Super Panavision 70, and music was composed by Leonard Bernstein and lyrics by Stephen Sondheim. So there's some cred right there. Released on October 18th, Through United Artists. It was a huge hit, high praise from critics and viewers, and it was the highest grossing film of 1961, nominated for 11 Academy Awards and won 10, including Best Picture, and in addition to a special award for Robbins, becoming the record holder for the most wins for a musical. It's regarded as one of the greatest musicals of all time, and has been deemed culturally, historically, or aesthetically significant by the Library of Congress and was selected for preservation in 1997. And the second adaptation is coming out in 2021, which we're going to talk about later on. So, as we said, this was directed by Jerome Robbins and Robert Wise. Jerome Robbins was co-director in reality and more the head choreographer. So all the dancing was done by Jerome Robbins, because outside of this, his directing credits really limited to something called Afternoon of a Faun, which was a TV short. Now, Robert Wise, The Sound of Music, The Haunting, Star Trek, The Motion Picture, The Andromeda Strain, got some hefty caliber stuff under his belt.
Indeed.
Yes. So Ernest Lehman, screenplay writer, along with Arthur Lawrence, who wrote the book. This is who did Family Plot, screenplay for that one. I don't know if you guys, it's a mystery.
Mm-hmm.
If you're looking for some really good screw with your head type stuff, take a look at Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf. That's kind of a messed up movie. The King and I. He did
etc.
And Black Sunday. Have you guys ever seen that?
Is that the Mario Bava movie?
Wait, it's the one
Black
where
Sabbath?
No, it might be Black Sabbath. Black Sunday is the one where there's a terrorist organization that's threatening to blow up the Goodyear blimp above the Super Bowl.
I've heard of that one. I've never seen it.
It's pretty
John
good.
Frankenheimer. Huh.
Yeah. Arthur Lawrence also did the screenplay for Rope and the screenplay for Gypsy. Upon the stage play and book by Jerome Robbins, did the play with that whole thing was based on. He also was responsible for Peter Pan, the TV movie adaptation with Cindy, what's her face? Mary Martin.
I was going to say Mary Martin. I thought you were going to say Cindy Williams. I was like, from Laverne and Shirley?
Yeah, it was her. She had Kitty.
That is one of the more familiar portrayals of Peter Pan for a lot of people. So,
Mary
it's
Martin?
kind of big.
For sure.
Yeah. I remember I was working at the video store when that came out on VHS for the first time, and people went out of their minds. Like everybody wanted. This is back in like early 90s, late 80s when it came out, probably 1990, 1991, when VHS tapes were running like $40, $50 a pop. And we sold like a case of them. So many people wanted this thing. So, yeah. And then Family Plot. You guys have seen that one, right?
I've heard of it, but I've not seen it.
Karen Black, Bruce Dern, Barbara Harris. It's Alfred Hitchcock movie. There's a psychic con artist in there, and you'd enjoy it. It's a lot really twisty for Alfred Hitchcock movie. It's good stuff.
I mean, I enjoy Hitchcock, so.
This is starring Natalie Wood as Maria, who is also Judy in Rebel Without a Cause, which is a movie I have to see again sometime soon because it's been a while. Richard Baymeyer played Tony and Joel. He was also Benjamin Horne in Twin Peaks. Put that in there for you.
And Josh.
Yes, Russ Tamblyn played Riff. He was in The Haunting, which we have did a show with about 2-3 years ago from The Haunting of Hill House. We watched that one. He was also the eponymous Tom Thumb from the movie Tom Thumb, and also Dr. Lawrence Jacoby from Twin Peaks also.
He was also in Seven Brides for Seven Brothers.
Yeah,
I like Russ Tamblyn
stuff. He's also in something else we watched recently. I've forgotten.
Moving on. Rita Moreno played Anita, was Tupim in The King and I. We'll talk about more about her later on. George Chekras played Bernardo. He was in something called The Young Girls of Roquefort, where he played Etienne. And most recently, he was in the late 90s Superboy TV series where he played Professor Peterson.
Superboy.
Yep. Simon Oakland played Shrank. Was Dr. Fred Richmond in Psycho and Captain Bennett in Bullet. Ned Glass played Doc, who was in the movie Charade with Cary Grant.
Another Hitchcock.
Yep, another Hitchcock one. And The Fortune Cookie. He played Doc Schindler. Have any of you guys seen
His
The
list?
Fortune Cookie?
No.
Oh, good God, dude, really?
What?
The Fortune Cookie?
No.
Okay,
No.
A lawyer convinces his brother-in-law to fake an injury for money, but it's starring Jack Lemmon, Walter Matthau, and Ron Rich. It's actually a really funny movie. It's good stuff. Tucker Smith plays Ice, and he was Klotsky's clown in the Mel Brooks To Be or Not to Be. And then things take kind of a change for some of the actors. Tony Mordette, who played Action in this, went on and directed. He was a director on episodes of The Greatest American Hero, Quincy M.E., and Hardcastle and McCormick.
Nice 80s resume right there.
Right? And also with David Winters, who played Arab. He most recently, 2013, he was in something called Dragon Wolf, which looks kind of awesomely terrible.
Oh.
You know?
It's like Airwolf, but with a dragon.
Yeah, that's not at all.
I don't know.
No, so it's one of those movies when you scroll down and the main character doesn't have a photo for his IMDb. It's one of those things. But he's also been doing some production work. So he produced Space Mutiny from 1988, starring Reb Brown, John Philip Law, and James Ryan.
I actually know that one.
I'm looking at the trailer for this right now, and they 100% rip off the opening scene from Battlestar Galactica in it. It looks a completely just god awful.
It ain't so. I had such
high hopes for a thing called Space Mutiny.
such high expectations.
And the last one, he did Raw Justice. He was producer on that, which starred David Keith, Robert Hayes, Stacy Keach, and Pamela Anderson. And
Raw Justice.
If that's not a recipe for just wonderfulness, I don't even know what is.
Well, because when you make an action movie, you want
That's
Robert
a very
Hayes to be your
interesting
lead.
Oh yeah, yeah. Kind of a strange mix of people there. But also, Elliot Field went on. He played Baby John in this, and he was also in That's Dancing as West Side Story dancer.
They have a bunch of people that stand around and they're like, "That's dancing. Oh, that's dancing.
Yeah,
that's dancing."
All of his stuff. The only things that he's done, he only has 7 credits to his name. West Side Story, The Ann Southern Show, and then all the rest of them are things about dancing where he plays himself. Yeah. And then Burt Michaels, who plays Snowboy, goes on to play Pete from Saturday Night Fever and 2021 West Side Story, Gimbel's security guard.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, there's more than just one in that. So some trivia on this one. Riff and Tony repeat an oath of loyalty to each other. Riff says womb to tomb, and Tony answers birth to earth. On stage, Tony's original answer was sperm to worm. But some reason they changed it.
Yeah, there's a couple of moments in that movie where I'm like, they changed that.
They didn't say that. Yeah, the censors of the time are like, can't say that word. So they were like, sperm to earth? No, that's not it? Okay.
What, worm?
Throughout the movie, Natalie Wood wears a brain. You can't say worm? He's shitting bricks. You can't say that. He's shitting rocks. Throughout the movie, Natalie Wood wears a bracelet on her left wrist, not for any aesthetic reason, but because she had injured her wrist in the scene of The Green Promise in 1949 when she fell on the bridge that collapsed during the severe rainstorm, causing an unsightly bone protrusion on her wrist. She wore the bracelet to hide the injury, and it eventually became the trademark of all of her movies.
Until she died untimely.
Yeah. They took the bracelet off, and they're like, ew, her wrist. So, even though dubbing Natalie Wood was Marnie Nixon's chief assignment, Nixon also did one number for Rita Moreno, which required a relatively high vocal register. Having dubbed Wood as well as Moreno, Nixon felt that she deserved a cut of the movie album royalties, but neither the movie nor the record producers would bow to her demands. Leonard Bernstein broke the stalemate by volunteering a percentage of his income, a gesture of royalty since Nixon had been a performer colleague of his New York Philharmonic concerts. He ceded 1/4% of his royalties to her, which is honestly a generous amount, according to numbers.
Good for him, man.
You would think 1/4% to be like, yeah, whatever. But I mean, the biggest movie of that year, it's like how many albums? I mean, I know my mom has a record album of West Side Story in the house.
It's, it's one of those musicals that just keeps going, obviously, and leaves an impression, and a lot of people just adore it, i.e. Steven Spielberg.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean,
well, that's a classy move.
This was a big musical for me as a kid, and I think I've told the audience and you guys that I'm a musicals guy. But I also, when Joel says this movie goes on, it goes on and on.
Yeah, it's what, 3 and...
It's 2.5 hours.
2.5 hours?
Yeah. But I feel like that's kind of necessary because it's kind of an epic story. Reality, it's not. I mean, it all takes place in like 2 days or whatever. And it's a pretty simple story, but it's kind of epic in themes, and the scope of it feel really large, even when it's a very simple story.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the classic retellings of Romeo and Juliet.
Mm-hmm.
For sure.
I'm waiting for them to do the Troilus and Cressida musical. I think that'd be fun. One of the songs could be, "Hey, what's in that pie?"
I did forget how many of the songs, like you remember the Jets song, which is super cringy, and I Feel Pretty, which actually Stephen Sondheim regretted ever writing it. It is his least favorite composition of his entire career, and he was pushed into writing I Feel Pretty, and he hated the song.
Oh, that's gotta suck.
And I'll come back to that for the now, because that's going to that idea is going to surface again. But there are some, like Tonight, huge song. Like a few songs in this that I forgot were even from West Side Story, and I watched, aside from Annie, this was probably within the first 3 musicals I ever watched in my life, and I'm into musicals. So,
see, and I'm the opposite. I'm kind of I don't hate musicals, but I don't seek them out. But growing up, my mom made a point of us always going. Like I saw Yul Brynner in The King and I saw Carol Channing in My Fair Lady. Or no, Hello Dolly. I'm sorry. We would go out to see shows a lot, and so I'd seen this at least once on stage, and it was interesting revisiting it because I don't think I've seen it since I was a kid. And I got to say, One Hand, One Heart is a pretty beautiful song, to be honest.
I saw this on stage because my brother was in it.
What?
Yeah.
Who did he play?
He played action. And he also sang the part of, he sang Officer Krupski. He sang
Officer Krupke. Crap you.
But have I seriously not told this story?
I don't think so.
Oh my
God. Okay, so we go to see, he's at the military school, and they're putting on West Side Story, and he comes out playing action. And my brother, he's a slender, white, kind of bobbleheady looking kid at that point. And they're doing the opening scene, and you know how they do the fake fight, and they bow, bow, and everybody throws the punches, and everybody's doing all that, except the guy who was throwing the punch at Matthew, his blocking was off by about a step. And when they did the one scene where the guy takes a full swing at Matthew, and suddenly you hear this, Matthew's head swings around, he staggers, and you see a drip of blood come down from the side of his face. The guy punched him square in the eye. To his credit, Matthew finished the scene with a bloody eye, dazed out of his head. I think he even had a concussion. I'm not sure. But me in the audience was pulling, what's that? You know that meme from Survivor where all the women are like, oh my God, and the one guy smiles?
No, but I'll pretend.
You guys pretend you know that meme.
Yeah,
one.
that one.
Yeah, that thing. So that's me. And because I was like, oh my God. He wound up with 7 stitches in his eye.
Wow.
Yeah. And yeah, he took a slap, and he took a good punch to the head. I mean, the guy was probably double his size, if I remember correctly, but he apparently like went in the back after he finished the scene. He stepped back, looked at one of the girls, and was like, does my eye look all right? And she like started to gag because she was like, you know, that sort of thing going on. So the other fun part of it is that the mom and dad of the guy who threw the punch were sitting directly in front of us. And I was like, me, Susie, and my mom and dad. And the second that punch hit, his mom turns around and goes, oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Was it Harvey Firestein?
Yeah, Harvey Firestein was his mom.
Wow.
Yeah. But they took Matthew to the emergency room. He got 7 stitches in his eye. And suddenly his character changed from a skinny little Matthew to, I think, like a 6'1" Italian dude. Like, just changed.
That's what happens when you get punched.
Yeah, that understudy jumped in. But that's my fondest memory of West Side Story.
Is your brother getting punched in the face?
He really got tagged too. I mean, it was a full on like audible smack.
There was one night when we did Three Penny Opera where 2 of us were almost very seriously injured.
Really?
The guy who played Jonathan Jeremiah Peachum, I can't remember his name. He was actually a suite mates with me and Pat. I think he was the RA of my first dorm floor. He was supposed to wake me up as a beggar by picking up a stool and slamming it down onto the stage next to my head.
Uh-oh.
One night, it came down on my head.
Ow.
Oh.
Yeah, knocked me silly. And that was the same night that McKeith, who's supposed to threaten, I can't remember the character's name, but Ducky was playing him, one of McKeith's guys. He's supposed to threaten him with a jackknife and like get it near his throat. He got a little too close and sliced Ducky's cheek open.
What? Holy crap.
Yeah, we were both okay, but yeah, 2 injuries the same night.
That's crazy.
Well, Ducky probably missed his mark.
Probably.
He deserved it.
I was going to say.
It is tradition.
We all wanted to cut him.
Yeah. But all in all, I just want to say I am so proud of that kid for finishing the scene.
Yeah.
I mean, he was singing.
That's the show must go on, man. I had to look up who the composer was on this because as I was listening to it, I'm like, it vaguely has similarities to Sweeney Todd, and Stephen Sondheim wrote the music for that, and the lyrics. But this was Leonard Bernstein who wrote the music. So I don't know if it one influenced the other, but it had kind of a reminiscent feel to that. But I was surprised how much I enjoyed this, and I actually watched it a second time just so I could take some notes and kind of refresh my memory on it. And it's kind of impressive that a movie that was this beloved and that people, rewatch has such an incredibly down ending. But just look at Romeo and Juliet. Look how famous that is and how much that's studied and, researched and gone over and copied and redone. So
it's wild because I had the opposite experience. I loved this film as a kid, and I had a bad feeling about it when I saw how long it was, and I felt every minute of it. And I was surprised because I honestly, I made the joke at the top of the show, but like I had forgotten that you've got with one breath the lyrics acknowledging in the 1950s that things weren't great for Puerto Ricans in America, that life is better if you're white in America. And then on the other hand, casting almost every single Puerto Rican character as a white person in brown face. Whew.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
There is certainly problems in terms of the portrayals and the casting and absolutely.
And like we mentioned earlier, even taking your only Puerto Rican and still putting her in brown face.
Right.
Yeah.
Rita Moreno had to wear the makeup too.
Yep. There is definitely some problems in that regard, for sure. But you're going to run into that anytime. I mean, even through a lot of modern filmmaking, you're going to run into that same issue, unfortunately.
Yeah,
and
the brown face, racism from another time, whatever, was not my issue with this movie. My issue with this movie, this is the first time I ever seen it, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah. And I found it just boring. I mean, it never once encapsulated me in any way.
I hate to say it, but I'm with Pat on this one. I've seen this a couple times.
Captured, I guess would be a better word.
And I think I just don't like musicals.
I like musicals. I just didn't like this one. It never rang true to me.
That's interesting.
We're
all over the board then.
Hmm?
I was just going to say, we're all over the board. You like musicals, but didn't like this one. Mike doesn't like musicals at all. I liked this movie, but didn't like it when I saw it recently. And Joel just saw it recently and liked it.
And I'm not a musical guy.
Yeah, so we're all over. But yeah, this is just not one of my types of musicals. I'm not big on really, really cheesy, schmaltzy musicals, which means that there's not a whole lot of musicals that I actually do like. Because
I'm going to say, what really musical isn't cheesy, schmaltzy?
The Nightman Cometh.
Nope. Okay. All right.
That's the first one that popped in my head.
You, that's pretty hardcore. Yeah, right there.
Yeah, but I mean, one of my favorite, my favorite movie of all time, a musical, Wizard of Oz. I mean, I definitely like musicals. It's just, it's got to be. I don't know how to. I'd have to.
You're
think
very
about it to
niche
really know
as
what
far
it
as
is.
what you like. You're very specific in terms of what musicals you like, and it may not be a specific reason. It might just be.
But I mean, I think the biggest problem I have with this movie is like, just visually, it looks nice and everything, and the characters are nice, and the choreography and the costumes are good. But I never, ever, ever once bought that any one of these guys was a tough guy. That's part of the crux of it being a musical is like they're gonna be, lean, like live,
dancers,
dancers, and it's just that's just part of the thing. But it's just. And so I think, therefore, trying to cast them as tough Puerto Rican gang, whatever, and just gang members in general, I'm just like, it just never rang true to me, and it just bugged the crap out of me.
You never saw any dancing Puerto Rican gang fights when you were living in Chicago,
right? Yeah. I mean, believe me, I've seen gang fights. They didn't look anything like any of those.
I mean, I'm sure there's some jumping around and stuff, but
I mean, I also don't like the video for Bad. So
come on,
you've
never seen Fluffy Fingers. You have, Patrick.
I also feel like this felt like it was trying to be the stage play, or like it didn't. Like it wanted to thread the needle between being a movie and the play as a movie.
I think that's where you're right, because even in the time this was done, we were still learning about cinematography. We were still learning about that. I think this was trying to emulate the theater experience for everybody, versus being its own individual kind of media telling the same story.
Right.
Yeah, because back then it was more like, hey, let's bring this theater production to the movies rather than let's make a movie out of this theater production.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and that's the thing, is that's not just a sign of the times, though, because if you compare it to, say, Guys and Dolls was definitely like, it was the play, it was a musical, but like it didn't feel like it was trying to ape the theater experience to me.
But like in the same time period, you got The Odd Couple, which did feel like it was trying to.
But The Odd Couple isn't a musical.
Yeah, okay. If we're gonna go music, yeah, all right.
Yeah, and I think and that is kind of weird because I agree with you on Guys and Dolls and now I'm kind of taken aback because I had forgotten about Guys and Dolls. I enjoy Guys and Dolls.
Yeah, I like.
Maybe I enjoy a little bit more lighthearted. Maybe a musical tragedy isn't exactly up my line. Of,
And don't watch Dancer in the Dark.
okay, I'll put that
How
on
do
my.
you feel about Moulin Rouge? That's a musical tragedy.
Indeed. And a mighty good one.
I was going to say, it's one of the DVDs we have 2 copies of in our house. Because
I have it on DVD. I bought it. I enjoyed it, but I think it's because...
It also skews for Ewan McGregor.
And it's a little bit more absurdist versus straightforward tragedy.
I still haven't seen Moulin Rouge, so I can't comment.
Oh, dude.
So
You should have taken one of ours while you were here. You
Yep.
don't need to.
I'm not a big Baz Luhrmann fan.
Well, he's not a fan of yours either. He told me. He wrote me a letter. He's
Joel.
like, "Fuck you."
God damn it.
I felt like this movie. I mean, I kind of get some of the
It's like when you
argument.
step off the sidewalk and you see the truck coming.
the argument that maybe they were going a little for the stage effect, but I don't get that as much. I feel like they were trying to capture kind of that feeling of New York at the time, and it's big and it's sumptuous and it's colorful and it's
Full of high kicks.
large and full of high kicks. And I, as much as I love Russ Tamblyn, he's kind of the Ted Raimi of the time. Yeah, he's not a tough. He plays a good kind of little brother, kind of annoying guy that the guy that wants to be the love interest, but is love interest.
What a connection of all people you connect him to Ted Raimi. That's
kind of how I see him.
I mean, I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying,
and his daughter is great too. Amber is a fine actress as well. But I just found it to be quite the spectacle. And any movie that has John Astin, come on, gotta love John Astin.
I do.
And he was fine in his little bit part.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I don't know. I think part of this suffered from, I suspected that this was not going to age well for me. As something that was like a classic movie my mother loved, had us see. She was all into musicals. Annie was one of the first films I saw in the theater, and it affected my taste in cinema forever. But I feared that going back and watching this again, it would not hit the same. And for me, it really didn't.
See, you just had me have a flashback on Annie. I think this may be why musicals aren't on the top of my list, because Annie came out. We borrowed the neighbors had a bootleg VHS of it. We watched it. My sister loved it, and he had recording gear. So he's like, "Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll record all the music for Annie for you," and then gave it to my sister with all of that. And you could stab me in the face. I cannot stand the music from Annie now, because that played 24/7 until the tape mysteriously burst into flames.
The sun will come out.
Instead of kisses, you got kicks, Mike?
Yes.
Oh, that's too bad.
That happens.
I mean, you knew this movie was going to have problems even before you saw it. I mean, you look back at other films of the time, like Touch of Evil, again, Charlton Heston playing a Mexican, or, Christopher Lee playing Fu Manchu. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's really unfortunate, but it's part of film history and you can't erase it.
The most unfortunate part is it's boring.
But yeah, it sucks because there are some things like this that I feel like are worthwhile and enjoyable and pieces of kind of history. But sometimes it's a bit hard for sure to watch, especially based with the world today what it is, and being more inclusive and trying to make sure that everybody's got representation. Yeah, it feels a little. It's bad. you know,
Well,
in that regard.
again, going like I said, going to the how many actors and actresses did they have to pull from that were in the stable of actors and actresses that they had back then? You know, if I say name me outside of anybody that's in this movie, name me 2 more Puerto Rican actors or actresses from the 60s.
Well, the thing is they were there. They just weren't thought of as being star material because they wouldn't put asses in seats.
Mm-hmm. And that was the mindset. I mean, it was again, 1960s was like we're saying, even then it was still kind of experimental. I mean, people didn't have indie theater really. They didn't have groundbreaking. I mean, the machine was in full motion by that point, and they had their process of making a movie. You get names that people know. You go in there, you make the money, you go and make another movie from that. You know, it's just I mean, I'm not saying it's right, but I'm just saying that's unfortunately the way the mindset was back there.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and I think the biggest thing is the disconnect where there are lines about how tough it is for non-white people in America, and then like doing that same sort of thing to your actors.
Yeah, and I'm sure the irony of the whole situation was lost on them.
Right.
Exactly. Well, because it was the studios were all run by old white guys.
And the irony of them dancing around and snapping their fingers, talking about how tough they are. As soon as they yell cut, they look at each other like, uh-huh.
Okay, so got any other fond West Side Story memories? Hey,
eventually it was over.
You know, I think that is kind of an issue with musicals is they do have to be longer because you figure each song is going to be.
I thought you were going to say that they ended, but
well, yeah, this movie has not ended. They all have to be. I think sometimes they have to be longer because each song is what, maybe 2.5, 3 minutes long.
At least 3 minutes, typically.
You have,
That's a pretty good point. I mean, I am a big fan of Hamilton, and it's almost 3 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you figure they have 5 songs that between 3 and 4 minutes long, you've got between 15 and 20 extra minutes on that movie just because everybody's singing. So there you go.
You need to do a little more expository lyrics in their songs.
Just need to be less musical and more just like, talking. Call them talkicals.
Let's go to the break.
Yeah, I think we're done.
It's a talking musical.
Fuck you.
All right. I think we're going to go to the break. When we come back, we're going to talk about West Side Story 2021.
Crap you.
There you go. Good job.
Thank you.
All right. West Side Story 2021.
Part 2. The gritty reboot.
West Side Storier.
West Side.
Yay. American musical romantic drama. Co-produced and directed and co-produced by some guy named Steven Spielberg.
Up and comer.
Right. It is a feature-length adaptation of the 57-stage musical. Moreno, who we had talked about earlier, who starred in 1961, also served as executive producer alongside Tony Kushner, who wrote the screenplay. And again, Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim. A gentleman by the name of Justin Peck did choreographing on this one. You see the picture of the guy. He looks like he should be selling you insurance.
Maybe he does.
You never know. Had its world premiere at Jazz at Lincoln Center's Rose Theater on November 29th, 2021, 3 days after Stephen Sondheim died.
Oh, man.
Well, I mean, I don't know if he saw it or not, but they finished it. That's got to be something. Received almost universal critical acclaim for direction and cinematography. Some critics deeming it superior to the 1961 film. Was named one of the top 10 films by the National Board of Review, American Film Institute, But despite its critical reception, it was a box office bomb, grossing $74.5 million against $100 million production budget. And among its multiple awards and nominations, it's got 7 nominations at the Academy Awards, which we will find out later, as we are in the Academy Awards month, including Best Picture. It also got 4 nominations at the Golden Globes, winning 3, including Best Motion Picture, Musical or Comedy, Best Actress in a Motion Picture, Comedy, Musical for Zeigler, and Best Supporting Actress Motion Picture for DuBose. Again, directed by this guy named Steven Spielberg, who did a couple big movies back then.
1941.
1941. There you go. That's it. That's the one I thought of. Tony Kushner did the screenplay. He also wrote Lincoln and Munich.
Oh, so uplifting films.
Yeah. He's all the stuff that he writes just makes you want to get out and tackle the world. The cast: Ansel Elgort played Tony, who was also in The Fault of Our Stars as Gus, Baby from Baby Driver, and Caleb from Divergent.
Now, if you guys haven't seen Baby Driver, you really need to.
It's on my list. I know
So
I would
good.
enjoy it. So, Rachel Zeigler plays Maria. She's currently slated to be the new Snow White in 2023 and plays actress in Shazam! Fury of the Gods for 2022. I don't know what that means. Unless it's, right. She has no credit on the IMDb page.
Weird.
Yeah. Ariana DeBose? DeBose or DuBois?
DuBose.
DeBose.
DuBose, yeah.
Yeah, it'd be an I there if there was. Plays
Dubois.
Anita. She's going to be Calypso in the new Kraven the Hunter movie and
Neat.
was in a TV show called
Schmigadoon.
Schmigadoon, where she played Emma Tate.
Have you heard of this show?
Not at all.
It's about 2 people who get stuck in a real life musical.
A couple on a backpacking trip discover a magical town which everyone acts like they're in a musical.
Yep.
Oh, wow. This
Starring-
has got quite the cast.
Yep.
Holy cow.
It's from the people that I know that have seen it. They've raved about it. It's on my list, but I've not seen any of it yet.
It's Apple TV. That's why I'd never heard of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Martin Short, Alan Cumming.
Keegan Michael Key.
God. It's a great list. All right. David Alvarez plays Bernardo, who is also in The Stamp Collector. He played Rhodes from 2021. And Not That Child's Play, Joel. He played Nicholas, 2013. That, I think, is a coming-of-age tale about getting bullied.
Huh.
So, also have Rita Moreno, who played Valentina in the movie The Prank. She played Mrs. Wheeler from 2022. She was also the voice of Cookie Booker from Carmen Sandiego, and more stuff. I just did because we just did a Carmen Sandiego show. We just did it 4 years ago.
Literally, like I was going to say, like multiple years ago.
Rita Moreno is one of the very few performers to win an Oscar, an Emmy, a Tony, and a Grammy, thus becoming an EGOT. So, long and storied career.
And this character, Valentina, is basically a different... She's the equivalent of Doc from the original.
She's Doc's
Widow.
Yeah.
Right.
And
but
she,
like,
personally, I thought she was the best character in the whole thing.
I would agree.
We'll get to that.
Sorry.
So,
No, it's all right.
Brian Darcy James plays Officer Krupke, and he played Shrek in Shrek the Musical. He played Spotlight, the movie Spotlight. He played Matt Carroll, and the TV show Hawkeye, he played Derek Bishop. So that. Corey Stoll plays Lieutenant Shrank. He's Darren Cross, Yellow Jacket from Ant-Man in 2015, Agent Mac from the movie Push, and something called Twilight of the Gods that's currently filming, where he plays, Josh, am I calling you Hrankful?
Yeah, you got me, man.
Well,
Raffenkel?
it
Raffenkel?
looks. I don't know who's what this is about because
It's
really
pronounced Charles.
Oh. Hey, Raymond Luxury Yacht. That's what that's. But this cast, you got Corey Stoll as Hrankful, or however you say it, but you also have Peter Stormare as Ulfr, John Noble as Odin.
Okay.
So it's German. That's a joke.
Stuart Martin as Leaf, Pilo Asbeck as Thor. So this looks like pretty dang good.
Yeah, Corey Stoll is another actor like Mahershala Ali, where I first encountered him in early seasons of House of Cards.
Yeah, that was the other thing I put in there. I skipped over that, but Twilight of the Gods caught my eye for reasons.
I just saw him in the Mini Saints of Newark.
Oh.
He's a good actor. He was another like highlight, even though he doesn't play a likable character. His performance was a real strong one.
Yeah, he's always. I always enjoy him whenever he's on the screen.
Him and Mark Strong should do a movie together. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
Mike Feist plays Riff. He also played Arthur in the Atlantic City Story and Lawrence Fowler in Wildling. Josh Andreas Rivera plays Chino, something called Cat Person that's currently in post-production, along with a TV movie called Vegas High that he's going to be in. Iris Meneas is Anybody's.
Who wrote Taco?
You know what? The thing is, I knew somebody was going to do it.
I
knew somebody was going to do it. She way down. She plays Alex, and Ridley Jones. She plays Fred.
This was another interesting casting thing because Anybody's in the original was a tomboy who wanted to be in the gang, but pretty much Anybody's in this is explicitly trans.
Yep. And I feel like they were walking that line in the original, but didn't really walk that line per se.
Because 1961.
Correct. Yeah.
All right, some trivia. The songs One Hand, One Heart and A Boy Like That, I Have a Love were performed live on set by Ansel Elgort and Rachel Zeigler on the former and Irina Du Bois and Zeigler on the latter. Sections of Maria were also sung live on set by Elgort as per his request. All of the songs were filmed to the more traditional playback technique. Rita Moreno actually sang somewhere live on set.
Nice.
Yeah. I saw that in an interview, and yeah.
So, considering the relatively large 60-year time span between the original and this production, 3 actors who appeared in the 61 release reprised different roles in this production, including Rita Moreno, Harvey Evans, and David Bean. Evan and Bean were both members of the Jets in the original, respectively playing Mouthpiece and Tiger. Evan passed away 2 weeks after this film's release.
Damn.
So,
second casualty.
Yeah, knocking people out all over. But he was... They were both the cameos of the last 2 guys were Gimbal security guards.
Nice.
This movie has a death curse.
Yes, old people died while making this movie. Steven Spielberg offered Rita Moreno a chance to be in the new West Side Story. Thinking it was a cameo, she declined until she learned that she'd be playing a supporting role, that of Valentina, a newly imagined character, the widow of the drugstore owner, Doc, in the original version. And I saw this in an interview when I was flipping through stuff. And you got to be pretty ballsy to tell Steven Spielberg, yeah, I don't do cameos.
Right? I love that.
Which is what her response was. Thanks, but nah.
Well, and I think her executive producer role had a real big impact because Spielberg also went to Puerto Rico and asked, what changes would you want to see if we were going to do this again? Because it's a controversial piece, especially for Puerto Rican people. And he took a lot of their suggestions to heart. This also recently went through a stage revival about 10 years ago. And in the stage revival, they cut the song, I Feel Pretty. There's well known that it's considered a corny-ass song. And Sondheim didn't like it. And it was cut. But and Spielberg was ready to do that again for the movie. This is what I was talking about, how I'd come back to this point. Spielberg was talked into including it, after all, by Tony Kushner. And the whole idea was you have to have this light saccharine song right before Maria finds out the horror she's about to be dropped into in the third act, for maximum contrast. And Spielberg was like, you're right. The song's back in.
They also changed the order of the songs, I think.
Yeah, they've made it closer to the musical.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I think in the 61, they actually had the fight that ends in death after I Feel Pretty.
Yeah, they changed up the order for the 61 version, but changed it back essentially for this. And I appreciated and the fact that he included a lot more Spanish in the film, but chose not to have subtitles.
Yep.
I thought that was... Because when I saw it originally, when we first were talking about doing this show, at the time, allegedly, in the version I was allegedly watching, I was like, oh, they just didn't have subtitles. I'm like, okay, well, we'll wait until the movie comes out. And then when I saw it on HBO, and I was like, oh, that was a choice. I'm like, I can appreciate that. And for a guy who doesn't speak Spanish, I was somewhat lost.
So I was dragging my feet on watching this. I joked as much back in December when we were originally talking about doing this. And I got to say, 10 minutes in, I was like, oh no, I think I like this. Because the choices they made with the casting, they cast guys that actually look like they could, in theory, have been in a gang in the 50s. And just the set they built for a New York that's in decay with the wrecking balls knocking down the slums. Just visually and the way they put this together, I was like, wow, this is immediately... I mean, of course, it's beautiful, Spielberg shooting it, but like, I had to go through the original, like pausing it, walking away, coming back, pausing it, walking away. I sat through the almost 3 hours of this and didn't move from my chair. Spoiler for the thumbs up, thumbs down. I was shocked at how much I like this.
You know what's funny about that is that it, in a lot of ways, having watched these both now twice recently, it's not quite shot for shot, but it's pretty close. But what a difference it makes, like you said, with casting and changing the set design to match what's going on in the story, to be more realistic. Because especially Riff, for example, he legitimately looks like the character he's portraying. Like you believe that could be him.
And they don't back off on the shittiness of both the white gang, the way they treat and talk about the Puerto Ricans, and the way the cops have their back. Like the racism angle is not overplayed, but it is also like, we're not going to whitewash this. It's here. It's part of the story.
Yep. They also did something else that the original did not, and they included a black character, although he's minor. They did include that as well. I'm not sure what the logic was, but it was something else that got brought up.
That literally was the whole point of it.
Which
is wanted to make it look like New York in the 50s.
Right.
One of the changes that was made that I felt was a huge difference and what made this hit a lot harder was the scene in the shop with Rita Moreno, and the guys attacking Anita. That whole sequence up to the end of the film when they're carrying Tony off just hits so much harder than the original film. Like, very powerful.
It's clearly just a much more well done movie, not simply because it's done now with modern sensibilities, but just because it's done now with just 60 more years of movie making expertise
60 more years of
storytelling
knowing that we don't have to make it look just like the stage.
Right. In the hands of someone who is skilled and with a big budget.
I mean, this is a big improvement over a movie where, honestly, it was just a bunch of gay white guys in brown makeup dancing around trying to look tough. I mean, this is, even though I didn't necessarily like the two leads as actors, as performers, this was a much better version. I mean, it, like you said, it evoked actual emotion versus the other one, which just evoked me wanting it to end.
Well, you almost feel like you could tell that Spielberg, this was his love letter to this film, to the city, to the time. But also I feel like he's probably seen this movie or this show so many times. And he, somewhere in the back of his mind, was like, this has problems that I'd like to fix, or things that I feel like should be updated or changed or expanded on. And he's the guy that could do that. Not everybody could pull that off. But I think the reason this tanked probably, though, is because of the times we're in, partially. People just weren't going to the theaters when this came out originally. Not like they are now, it seems like.
And honestly, there's a lot of just bad press, I guess, for lack of a better word, about gang violence right now. And like, no matter, even if you're trying to dress it up and make it a musical, it's still a touchy subject. Maybe some people just don't want to watch a musical about gang violence
and cops.
Yeah,
maybe.
And political and racial unrest. I don't know. I mean, it could just be the wrong time.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to hit, like, some people are going to feel it's too woke, and some people are going to feel that it's not sensitive enough to the Puerto Rican side of the story. Even as far as Spielberg tried to go, he's still a rich white guy trying to tell the story. So I do feel that there are definitely going to be a section of people that say, okay, they've tried too hard, including a trans character, making all these updates. It's not like the original, so they'll never see it. And another side saying, hey, this was maybe not Spielberg's story to tell, at the two extreme ends of the scale. And like, when you lose the two extremes, especially considering that's the way our society tends to go, you end up cutting out a lot of your audience.
And I mean, how many musicals kind of get to the theater and just blow up? And obviously some are more successful than others, like Dear Evan Hansen, which was a huge musical, hit the theaters and it just tanked. Like, it was bad from what I
Not everything can be Chicago.
So, who knows? I mean, maybe history will look back on this, 10 years from now and see it differently. And obviously the Academy and the Golden Globes and a lot of people do see what it was, or what he was trying to make it into.
I think this is one of those movies that's probably going to get a little more popular as time goes on.
It's definitely a spectacle. I felt like their versions of In America and Officer Krupke were kind of the standouts. I still, One Hand, One Heart is still probably my favorite song, but those two, their takes on it in this film, changing the location and just kind of the giant scope of it all, was extremely well done.
And fleshing out the characters was a better choice too.
For sure.
Giving them, a little more than just, this is a boy, this is a girl, they like each other. Okay, well, that's enough to die for.
These guys are going to fight now.
They sang together. They must be in love.
Ah,
I mean, yeah, we want to make fun of it, but like, you look at Romeo and Juliet and it's at least that surface level and kind of corny. Like they meet for a couple moments and they're dumb kids that fall in infatuation with each other. So I guess it's at least true to the original thing it's adapting. Hell, they probably had more time together than Romeo and Juliet did.
In this, the question always is, though, especially as you get further on, it's like, was it just infatuation? Was it love at first sight? Was there really these deep feelings? Was it more just kind of the fact that you're, part of it being the fact that it's kind of forbidden. There's a lot of questions that are never going to be answered because obviously he's gone and
It was
that's the end of the
infatuation,
story.
Joel. No one knows what love is at 13 or 14 years old. You just don't.
They're not 14.
In Romeo and Juliet, they are.
Oh, I'm talking about this.
Well, and this, like, it has some other differences. Like Juliet, Maria, the Juliet in this story doesn't die.
Yep.
And like when we got to the end of that, Sarah looked at me and she's like, she didn't die. And somehow that's worse.
She's got to live with the knowledge of what happened and probably feel a whole lot of guilt and anger,
I also thought it was a real interesting decision to make Chino kind of a soft intellectual guy until the ending.
Yeah, the nerdy Chino.
Yeah, like that's not a typical portrayal of the character.
But definitely gave him more of an arc, though, once that anger kind of took over and he decided that, the best way to solve this was to get revenge. Emotions ruled out, won the day.
Yeah, because he wasn't even really a shark.
Nope.
He was the guy who was going to college, was going to make good. He was awkward and dorky at the dance, and he ends up being the murderer who's carted off by the police at the end.
Yeah.
I wonder if he got sent to Chino.
Oh. Wow.
So
Chino?
Chinoception.
how
No,
did
they
this
just gave him a pair
compare
of
for you?
chinos.
How'd this compare for you, Mike? Because we haven't heard a whole lot out of you.
I think I'm correct in what I had said before, that I'm iffy on musicals to begin with, but if I'm watching a musical, I don't want it to be, like I said, a musical tragedy. I appreciated the cinematography of this. It was a very well shot. I mean, again, Spielberg. I mean, he's, instead of it looking like, plywood buildings on a set, again, we're going to give people the feeling that they're in the theater, which is why I think that the 60s version was shot like that. Because, high class people go to the theater, all everyday people go to the movies. So you make movies feel like the theater. People want to go see it and feel high class. We don't have that anymore. What they do have is giving you more depth, more. I think the city itself told a lot of the story without it even being, there was no singing buildings or anything like that, but you understood what was going on in here, even looking in the background and seeing how things were changing and seeing how, you have these half hollowed out buildings, that the gangs are running through, and just, seeing that there is this change going on that's outside of their world and outside of their grasp. And I appreciated the storytelling a little bit more in depth and talking about how all of them are feeling about what's happening to their city or to their neighborhood. I got through it and was glad it was over. I just not digging the musical tragedy thing. I didn't like it. It wasn't, I think, musical, I think fun, I think lighthearted, I think, and I think the other side of it is also, for me, movie watching for me is not, I'm very rarely going to go into a movie saying, oh, I've found this movie, it's a great character study of this, that, and the other. I'm going into a movie that I'm going to disconnect from reality as much as possible. That's why I watch a movie. I live in real life. I don't want to, I think, which is the same reason why I don't like The Office. I don't want to watch a TV show about a bunch of people that aggravate me at the place I work and get aggravated about it again. That's not my thing, but I liked looking at it, but watching it was difficult, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. Yeah, I get it.
So what do you think? You got anything else you want to say about this?
I don't think I do.
No, I think we pretty much covered all the bases. Are we ready for thumbs up, thumbs down?
I think we are. Patrick,
What?
thumbs up, thumbs down.
Thumbs down on the original and thumbs up on the new one.
Unsurprisingly, I'm right there with him. Thumbs down on the original, thumbs up on the new one.
If it wasn't obvious, a thumbs up for both for me.
Thumbs down, thumbs down.
All right. So if you have your thoughts about West Side Story, or maybe you just want to let us know what your favorite musical is, let us know. Give us a call at 708-NOW-RAP. That's 708-669-9727.
Yep. And if you're looking for a back catalog of shows, you can find them on your favorite podcast apps, such as Podbean or Pandora. If you enjoy the show, we'd love to hear about us. So you can leave us a review on Apple, Google, or Amazon podcasts, or give us some support for the keeping things running on the coffee link that's in the show notes. Joel, what do we have coming up for the remainder of Oscars month?
We've got 101 Damnations versus Cruella. Yes, I know it's Dalmatians. I just always say it that way.
It's just you're so with the stupid jokes.
It's just my thing. And we're going to be talking about the Oscars themselves. So the actual big night and a lot more is on the horizon.
All right. So, looking for that. More Oscars coming up. And thank you for listening. We'll be back next week.
Fuck you. I stopped eating crayons last year, so I'm a big boy now.